So Latane,
Yeah.
you have got an investment property in North Carolina. I believe it's Pinehurst.
Yeah.
Okay.
A golf mecca of the East Coast.
Oh, wow. Okay. Know nothing
I
about
don't
golf
even know if
over
that's
here.
real. I just said it. I just said it.
And I believed it because I'm very gullible. So I have questions. Why North Carolina? Why Pinehurst? And for those who don't know, this is an investment property, right? This
Yep.
is something that you're using like with Airbnb, VRBO.
Yep.
So why this location and why this house?
Great question. I wish I would say, oh, I was so sophisticated, and I thought about this, and I analyzed the data. So what actually happened was I went on a golf trip with a whole bunch of friends, and I had been buying some homes in West Virginia with 2 other friends. Did okay on them, but we're like, hey, since we did those, maybe we can go get a house down in Pinehurst. So Pinehurst, it is a big time golf location on the East Coast. The U.S. Open was there this year. So in the beginning of COVID, a few years ago, so we go down there, we play golf, and we stay an extra day. So we're looking at different homes. We're like, our budget is like 500 to 700,000. And so we're looking at these homes that are like 20 to 30 years old. They all have bad layouts. They're like 3 to 4 bedrooms. It was hard for us to figure out how the math would work. And then we saw this house. It was brand new construction, $1 million ask, and it was less than a mile from all the golf courses. $1 million was like, man, it seems like a lot of money for us and whatever. So we were like, well, it's the beginning of COVID. I don't know if real estate's going to be a good or bad thing, but we do know the U.S. Open's going to be here in 3 years. And someone was like, if the U.S. Open is there, you'll be able to cover 75% of your annual mortgage in 1 week because it's just that many people come into the area.
Sounds worth
So
it.
we're like, all right, well, there's probably a decent chance we could break even. We offered $850, and then we actually got it for $875. So it was 7 bedrooms at the time. There was an unfinished room above the garage, which we ended up putting money into that. So we had 8 bedrooms. We added a pool, and we got very lucky because one of the top podcasters decided, hey, it's COVID. I'm going to stay here in Pinehurst for the next 3 months. And they talked about Pinehurst every day.
Wow.
And not only talk about Pinehurst, but Pinehurst at the time was set up for, it attracted more of the older crowd.
Okay.
So, maybe let's call it 55 plus.
Okay.
But they had just put in a par 3 course called the Cradle, which you go out with music and beers and barefoot, and it's a lot of fun. And this guy was playing every day and talking about it. So we're like, man, this is kind of maybe good luck that this guy keeps talking about it. Just we were fortunate. Timing was great. I have tons of terrible investments, but this one was great. And so, we've literally, I think we rented it almost like 90% of the weekends that year. We're like 3 or 4 years later. We still do very well on it. The U.S. Open was there this year. We got $50,000 for 1 week.
Oh my gosh.
For the U.S. Open.
That's
so,
incredible.
that was kind of the reason why we got it.
Yeah.
Was like that 1 week we'll be able to cover a lot of our costs.
That's incredible.
So it sounds great. Now, with that said, everything's more expensive than you think it is. So we're paying our property management company 30% of revenue. It's a big number. Cleaning, all that kind of stuff. With that said, are we making money? Yes. Are we making as much as we thought we would? No.
Right.
But we try to go down there a couple times a year. It's great for the families. It's great for golf outings. So it's, like I said, one of my only good investments.
That's so interesting, too, that you bought this in COVID. And because, there were so many questions about where real estate was going to go. It sounds like it was not immediately. You had to put some work into it. But once the work was done, it was a moneymaker.
Yeah. We had to furnish the house, which, it's
a big house.
It's a big house. So, we got really good deals. I think it was $75,000.
So would that make it more difficult to rent it out because it's such a big house, so many bedrooms? Or do you think that actually works to your benefit because of the area and the kind of people that are going down for golf mostly?
I think it's a good thing for a couple of reasons. Number one, tons of golf trips. There are golf trips there.
And people usually go in groups for golf, right?
They're going in groups. So one thing we were trying to get to was we want to be able to say we can sleep 20. So we had to make sure we had enough beds. So we have a room that has 4 beds in it, right?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, sure, you want your own room. But, if you have a massive golf trip, there are not many people that can hold 20 people.
Right.
So that was one thing we were shooting for. So, the benefit, yes, it's expensive, if you think of it on an on a nightly basis, but it's not expensive when you have 12, 16, 20 guys.
Totally.
You know, it's actually pretty cheap. And so we're really shooting for those big golf trips.
Right. And how is it owning an investment property with, you said 2 other people? How does that look?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is, look, I think partnerships can be hard. I think it can cause problems. These are 2 friends of mine. We all are good at something, you know, and we're all pretty much on the same page. So it's been easy. It's been a great experience so far. You know, investments. Oh, it seems like a great investment. What could go wrong? Well, let me tell you. Pinehurst didn't want Airbnbs. They didn't want short-term rentals, basically. So, hey, there's too many people coming in town, golfing, staying up late, drinking too many beers in their pool, whatever, right? Making too much noise. So they were making a vote to try to get rid of short-term rentals. And so we actually went down and spoke. There were 700 people at like, you know, the local community all came together. It was a big deal.
Wow.
And so, you know, we made a really good point, which is like, you know, this is a lot of money for us. We put in a lot of time and effort. If we can't rent this out, we're going to lose tons of money out of nowhere when the law existed when we got here. So like, I mean, don't just like go extremes. There's always probably somewhere in the middle where you can work it out. And so what we pitched for was, you know, grandfather in the people that are already there. And if you don't want new licenses for short-term rentals, then, you know, that's something maybe you get that win. And so they actually ended up doing that.
Good.
And so they grandfathered us in so we can still do short-term rentals.
Great.
But they're not having hundreds of new homes that are doing it every single year.
That makes sense.
So it seems to make sense. And so that was a big win for us. I was a little nervous there. But, you know, you just never know with businesses and regulations and things change. And it would completely destroy that investment because you can't rent it out at all.
Right.
So it's like we have this large mortgage to just go visit once or twice a year.
Right.
It doesn't really make sense.
So something I've seen when I've stayed in like just like a single family home, Airbnb, a lot of times they'll have a rule for like no large parties, no large gatherings. Is that a rule for the Pinehurst place? Because I imagine like the occasion that people are renting it for is generally for like a party-like situation.
It's a good question, and I'll tell you, I don't know the answer. This is what I would say. I'm sure there's some type of noise ordinance in Pinehurst.
Right.
I don't know what it is. Do our directions tell people to be quiet by this time? Yes, they do.
Okay.
Do I know if that's because it's a law or just because we want to stay around and not get called to the police? Right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But you know, so we just proactively have our people do that and kind of try to keep people down.
Have you guys ever had like any situations where like something in the house was destroyed or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just there last month. There was a golf ball through the window. We have a golf simulator in the garage.
Okay.
So 3-car garage.
That's fitting.
You kind of knew it was always going to happen, right? We have golf balls in there. Also, our ceiling, the enclosure didn't go far enough. So there was just golf balls in the ceiling, like hundreds of them.
It adds
so then
character,
we put some
though.
foam in there. We covered it up. So
That's funny.
There's many things get broken. I mean, the house, when you think of it, we have 700 people a year going through that house.
Wow.
So it's like, it's going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
So we actually were just there. We're actually going to power wash the front, repaint the doors, like just stuff you have to do.
Okay.
Make it look reasonable.
Would you ever consider doing this without a property management company?
So that's a good question on like, should you manage your property from afar? So I just did a podcast with him. He has properties all across the country. He brought up different apps and technology you can utilize so you can technically manage it from afar. Now the issue is you still need someone in market to fix things, you know, take care of stuff from a physical standpoint. But you can do a lot of bookings and communication from afar. I mean, there is an app too where you can kind of bid it out to different cleaning companies, and they can kind of jump in, and you know who's going to clean it each day. You can probably get better prices by doing that. So I do think there is an opportunity to save money. The question is it worth the time?
Right.
You know, for us, it's not worth the time. They also help us by booking tee times for our groups. You know, we strategize on marketing techniques, a variety of other things. So, you know, we pay the extra money to have those people in market.
They're adding more value on top of property management.
Exactly. And that's the question too. You know, it is a competitive market. Like how can they add more value than just taking reservations?
Yeah, exactly.